So this was submitted by Greg Landon and Zachary Howard. These are WCU political science majors. The question, while both of you are running on platforms featuring fiscal responsibility, the 11th district is one of the more economically depressed in the state. How do you balance these claims of fiscal responsibility with bringing federal dollars to the district? I think Mark you had the last question first, so I'm going to give this one to Tom.
You start rebuilding the infrastructure, plain and simple. The rebuild infrastructure will cost, estimated by the GAO, about $145 billion. Oh, we can't afford that, say we can't afford it, $145 billion. We paid $145 billion in 1 year to fight that war back. $145 billion. We could, if we took that money and spread it out over 3 years, we would create a million jobs in this country, and that a million jobs that pay a decent wage. Now, once we start, you look around us. We've got roads that need rebuilding. We've got all kinds of problems here in the infrastructure. We need to do that. We also need to start some honest to God public works projects to clean up our water, to clean up the messes that have been made in our environment. I suppose that the public's probably going to get stuck with the bill to clean up the Dan River too, if we blink once, right? So we have to use good federal funds to put people to work in our district. We have the WPA here. I don't know how many of you remember that. If you go to Newfound Gap up here, you'll see things that they built way back in the 1930s that are still here and that we enjoy this damn time. That's what we need to do. And the problem with the right-wingers, especially the Tea Partiers, they don't want the government to spend money. Don't spend money. It's a bad thing. No, you have to spend money to make money. And that's what any good businessman knows that that's true. You can't just sit back and keep cutting until you cut yourself out of business. And we can do that.
All right, Mark. Balancing fiscal responsibility with funneling money back to the district to support jobs.
Well, Tom said a real key statement. He said any good businessman knows you got to invest money to make money. The problem is the government's not a business. The problem is the government is not in it to make money. What they are in it to provide the necessary infrastructure, perhaps, as we start to look at that. I'm on transportation infrastructure. I deal with that on a daily basis. And really the issue that we have is more with broadband than it is actual work. Now, granted, we've got to fix our bridges and hard surface, but let me tell you one of the other problems. When you allow the government to make choices on where federal dollars go, it doesn't come to Western North Carolina. Let me tell you, part of your fuel tax that every one of you out there pays, you pump it in, and 20% of it goes to fund mass transit. 80% of that 20% doesn't come to North Carolina. It goes to 6 cities. It goes to Washington, D.C. It goes to New York. It goes to Boston. It goes to Chicago. It goes to Philadelphia. It goes to San Francisco. Now, that is not equitable. Doesn't provide jobs here. And that's the problem. When you count on a government to do it, there are winners and losers. And normally, history shows us that Western North Carolina is a loser. We've got to get jobs, real jobs. And the federal role in that is really to get regulations out of the way so the private sector can create jobs again.
Tom, you rebuttal?
I couldn't disagree more. I do agree that what North Carolina spends does not come back here, and Medicaid expansion is a great example of that. For every dollar that we would spend on Medicaid expansion, the federal government would spend in North Carolina $13.50. But we've got these never say die guys with their ideology down in Raleigh, and so they turn their noses down on Medicaid expansion. A lot of people are going to die as a result of that, and it's a disgrace, and it's nothing but a spite. Now, if there are problems in the law, as Mark points out, we have to fix the law. Okay, that's very simple. And don't tell me that we don't have the evidence here in Western North Carolina of government funds. We have the TVA. Look at what we have. How did we get that? Right? Did we have Franklin Roosevelt wasn't born in Western North Carolina? So when you look at it, these problems are all imagined problems. They can all be fixed if we approach it with the right attitude.
Mark, he talks about these responsibilities of government sharing and that it can happen. Your rebuttal?
Well, I mean, if TVA is his shining example of a great government project, then he needs to talk to his president, President Obama. Because President Obama right now is saying we need to liquidate TVA because we can't afford it, because it's not making any money. And it's really, from a wholesale standpoint, it sells wholesale power. It doesn't even have the more expensive distribution type, and yet it can't make money. And so what we have to start to look at is that general. You know, he talked about clean water and all of that. I don't know who he's going to get to clean it up. We've got the EPA over here that hasn't cleaned up CTS in 25 years. You know, there's 953 Superfund sites that haven't been cleaned up out of 1,300. So that's a batting average of 250. It's not a good batting average, so I don't know who's going to do it.
All right, we're going to move on.
No, I get 30 seconds.
I'm fine. Give me 30 seconds.
You got it.
Thank you. The TVA, when I was a child, TVA was a very prosperous organization, and the problems it has financially are the result of Republicans having starved it for funds for years. Now that's the simple truth. As far as you know, these other problems, we can work these problems out. I don't know if Mark goes over to Hiwassee Dam and Fontana or not. Those are pretty good projects from my point of view, and they're clean energy, right? So I don't know why he's trashing TVA. I'm a big fan of TVA. The biggest thing with media is the fun. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's